Okay, the first thing I want to do, I want to point out some of the filters. And we have our engine oil filter here, which we're going to break loose first. And we have our oil plug here, which we need a 3/8 ratchet. And if you want to go a little further, we have our transmission filter here and have a plug here. And Allison really made it convenient for you to service the transmission fluid. And we have our fuel filters up above here. We have 2 fuel filters, and we'll get to those once we bring the vehicle back down. Now, if you happen to use a jack stand, a jack to lift it up, make sure you lift it up right here in the middle of the I-beam here, the axle, and mount your jack here and one over here for safety. And make sure you never get underneath a vehicle without jack stands. All right, so I put a drop light here so we can see what I'm doing. And you put your oil filter wrench up here, find a way to get it up there. And maybe you get lucky enough to take it off with your hand, but I kind of doubt it. And as you can see, we got it on. And just turn it non-clockwise to get it out. So now that I have broken it loose with the oil filter wrench, I just screw it down with my hand. The oil filter here. Okay, let me get this filter out here. All right, we're gonna drain our engine oil. We'll get a 3/8 ratchet and break our plug loose. Okay, so the only thing we need to do is let me get this out of the way. All right, we'll let that drain, and we'll go and get our new oil filter. And I like to put oil in the new oil filter and then mount it back. I don't like to mount up a oil filter dry. Okay, now that we have our engine oil drain, we'll put our plug back. Let's see here. And make sure you do not cross thread it. Put it on with your fingers, and then use the ratchet to tighten it back up. All right, try not to get it, you don't have to put a pry bar or anything on it, and it'll tighten right on up. All right, as you can see, I put oil back in the oil filter, and it's like half full. But I like to do that because I really don't care to put it in dry. And I like to just spread the oil around on the O-ring, and it helps it to seal, And on top of that, when it's time for the oil filter to come back off, that is much easier to take off. Okay, we got our oil filter back up there, and just screw it in. And try to make sure you don't get any dirt inside of it while you're trying to put it back. Get a rag and wipe that off. And while I'm wiping it off, I'm just gonna get a good hand grip, and I tighten it with my hand, not a oil filter wrench. And you appreciate it once you decide to change oil again. You'll be glad. It's much easier to get it off with it hand tight versus someone put a wrench on it. I just want to point out that you have several grease fittings, and mainly on the drive shaft, and the front end. So we have one on the rear universal joint. Make sure you grease that. And we go along the front. You can see it. There will be one in here also where my finger is pointed. And there will also be one in the front. Right in there. And we also had the front. You have your kingpins. Make sure you grease your kingpins. Have one on the top and one here on the bottom on both sides. Make sure you grease your tie rods. That's very important. And make sure you also grease your drag link on your steering gearbox. Okay, this is the one on the other side, and the same as the top. Your drag link, don't forget those. Don't forget them. And we want to make sure we get our differential. Got to check the oil in it. Get you a half inch ratchet. Make sure we got some in there. Oh yeah, that's good. That's good. I like to look at it too, just to see what it looked like. That looks good. See if you can see that. Although I'm wearing black gloves, but as long as it has that brown tint, that's good. If you see any silver in it, drain it immediately. You have your drain plug here. Okay, we have several more areas to grease, just a few more. We have the shaft for the steering wheel that goes to the gearbox, and you want to grease, if you can see it, there's a grease fitting right here, and we greased this one while we was underneath the vehicle, the drag link. And you also have a grease fitting back here on the other end of the link for the steering wheel. So right now we are on the driver's side of the vehicle. We have a secondary fuel filter, which is larger than the primary fuel filter, which is right here. So we're going to take both of those off, and we're going to fill them back up, the new ones back up with fuel. And Cummins made it pretty simple to do that. All right, so now we're going to put engine oil back in. We're going to use 16.5 quarts. That's what we need to put back in. And we're going to use Rotella 15W40. Okay, so if you notice on the secondary fuel filter, you have a plug down here. So we're just going to pop that loose. And then we're going to get a filter wrench and take both of the filters off. Okay. Get this one off. Don't forget to have you a bucket. Okay, I pull my wire harness off. Broke that loose. And let's see if I can get this filter out the way. It seems as though my filter wrench has fell in love with my fuel filter. So I just pull them both out together. Let's see here. So may want to keep you some oil dry around. I like to wear mechanic disposable gloves. There you go. Not too bad. Okay. All right. And you can see where the wire harness goes, so just make sure you put that back when you put the filter back on. Okay, you may be wondering what's the best way to prime both of these fuel filters. Well, there's several ways you can do it. One way, and one thing I like about Cummins, they have the red plug on here for the outlet. You can take a bucket of clean diesel fuel and keep the red plug on it and just drop it in it and just let it bleed itself out. You can do both of them that way. Or you can just, again, leave the red plug on and siphon clean diesel fuel and have it to go in the inlet, and it will eventually just come to the outlet. But again, I like to leave the plug on. I don't want to get any dirt inside of here. So either way will work. So now that we have our filter full back with fuel, our primary filter, and the best way I think to get it in will probably be on top. Okay, so next we want to change our air filter. Okay, let's see what we got here. And see what she looked like. It's not too bad. Not too bad at all, but this is your air filter. And we're going to put another one in it since we took it out. Okay, now that we had the fuel filter put back on, the third way you can prime this is what Cummins have given you. There's a pump right here, and there's a port right here. You take a small Phillips screwdriver and you can stick right in. There's a hole right here. Just hold that Phillips screwdriver in there and just pump until you get the air out of all the air out of this port, and fuel will start coming out and you are fully primed. Okay, just recheck your engine oil and just make sure you have no leaks, and that's all you need. You're good to go. All right, that's all you have to do for preventive maintenance.